and through the chat.
Okay, so hello everybody, and welcome to this new UNIMED week. As you know, as you may have noticed, during this long period of lockdowns, successive lockdowns imposed by COVID-19, UNIMED has not stopped its activities. We have carried on, of course, in a different way. Our entire team has tried to guarantee associates a high level of attention and activity. The board of directors has also been meeting regularly, and we have insisted to try to relaunch the importance of Euro-Mediterranean cooperation, though in such a critical period for everybody. UNIMED has grown over the past 2-3 years. We are constantly growing. Now we have reached the number of 141 members from 23 countries. We got 79 members from southern Mediterranean countries, 50 from European Union countries, 4 from Turkey, 3 from Albania, 3 from Iraq, and 2 from the Gulf. We've got countries that are not just on the Mediterranean, even further away, but all universities that are very interested in the dynamics within the Mediterranean. A very large Mediterranean participation, as you see, with the goal to enrich the internationalization activities of all our universities, all the members. As you know, UNIMED elaborated on behalf of the Union for the Mediterranean a report entitled The Internationalization of Higher Education in the Mediterranean, Current and Prospective Trends, that was published and officially presented on June the 22nd, a couple of months ago. This study is the first of its kind, and it represents an important milestone in the life of our association. The elements highlighted, both at a national and regional level, are also useful for reflecting on the future of UNIMED's activities. So, therefore, we invite you not only to read it, but also to organize national meetings with our colleagues and your colleagues to discuss the recommendations included in the report. The study goes in the same direction of the UNIMED week in Brussels, the same strategy. This UNIMED week in Brussels is a forum for discussion and networking, an occasion for our associates to meet European and international institutions and learn more about their current and future programs. This year, it will be the occasion for our members to discuss with the European Commission about the evolution for the upcoming period 2021-2027 and the policies aiming to foster the cooperation and improve the integration at all levels in the Euro-Mediterranean region. The activities of UNIMED and its projects are increasingly recognized by the European Commission, as well as by other international institutions. This initiative will therefore be an opportunity to look at the past and to go on through the course and to further strengthen our network. Over the years, a number of key challenges have been identified in the academic and scientific cooperation within the Mediterranean region, such as strengthening mobility opportunities. This is a very important point for us. Working on supporting refugees, another issue UNIMED has always followed very carefully, including students, adults, academic staff, and researchers. Reinforcing networking opportunities for universities with enterprises and socio-economic realities. And within the board of directors, we have been discussing possibilities to further strengthen these relationships, these interactions with enterprises and economic realities. Another point is rethinking a new policy and new policy instruments at the European level, increasing social responsibility in the university system to face the new challenges in the region. Building on last year's experience, we hope the UNIMED Week 2021 will be a good opportunity to get even more people engaged in sharing and discussing different points of view on cooperation with the Mediterranean, within the Mediterranean region and with the Mediterranean region. In recent weeks, we have launched a call for the convening of a new Euro-Mediterranean Ministerial Conference on higher education and scientific research to be organized soon. I warmly invite you to sign the call. Your support will be fundamental to achieve this important result, or at least to reach out to the governments of the Euro-Mediterranean Partnership. In recent months, we have invited you to celebrate the 30th anniversary of UNIMED since its foundation. And in 2022, we hope to be able to meet again in presence. We couldn't last year, unfortunately, and to be able to celebrate the 30 years of activity of our association with different events. The 2022 assembly will be held in person next spring. This year, we'll be meeting online, but in spring, we'll hold, hopefully, our assembly in person at the University of Jordan in Amman. And much more will be organized in the coming months. I thank you very much, and I thank all our members for their active participation in the life of UNIMED. I also, let me thank all our staff, who works every day, constantly, very hard to make all the activities of UNIMED possible. And of course, Marcello, our director, our Secretary General, Professor Benaziza, and our Honorary President, Professor Wael Ben Jeloun. I thank you all and thank all our staff and wish you a good week. Thank you. We can't hear you, Marcello.
Yeah, the both of you, you're mute. Thank you very much, Francisco. Thank you very much for your words and for continuous support to all our activities, and also the thanks also to push us to do something more, and if possible, something better. I will now give you, before to open officially with the first webinar, I will present to you an overview of the entire UNIMED Weeks Brussels. We decided this year to have several very short and technical webinars, most of them with the European Commission Department, Director General, but I will present in detail all the activity that we planet. As you, I hope that now my presentation is okay. First of all, I would like to mention, as you already mentioned, Francisco, the report that we defined and we wrote for the Union for the Mediterranean, the internationalization of the higher education in the Mediterranean. You can download the report in our website, in the website of Union for Mediterranean. And I think that this report is extremely important for to define in some way the guidelines for the internationalization activity of our university in the region. You can find very good elements at national level and also at regional level. National level is related to the 10 of the Southern Mediterranean countries, and the regional, obviously, dimension is related to the Euro-Mediterranean region. I give you some example. For instance, the SWOT analysis that we did for all the 10 countries involved in this study, all these 10 South Med, of course. And this is the case of Jordan, for instance. This is something that you can find in the report. And obviously, we define also some national recommendations plus regional recommendations. And for every country, for every recommendation, we define a team-based roadmap. All these has been made not only by UNIMED researchers, but in collaboration with our members, some focal point in the region, but in particular through focus group and interview with high-level experts in internationalization in the Euro-Mediterranean region. You will find in the report the methodology that we used, and also all the people interviewed and all the information related to this report. This is the first report at quantitative level, but also at qualitative level, describing the Euro-Mediterranean higher education cooperation internationalization in the region. And we are thinking now to move, why not, to have a yearly analysis, at least on the mobility trends in the Euro-Mediterranean region, which remain one of the main important issues in internationalization. Following the other information that the President gave you, I will invite you also to, again, to have a look to the call for the new Euro-Mediterranean Ministerial Conference on Higher Education and Scientific Research. In our website, you will find all the relevant information, the reason why we are asking for this ministerial conference. And I hope that through your support, and then discuss with each Ministry of Higher Education in the region, European and Southern Mediterranean side, we will be able, jointly with Union for Mediterranean, of course, to achieve this important results. The last ministerial meeting was in 2007. And I think that it's now time to, again, to invite ministers to meet again and to debate about, in particular, looking at the impact of COVID-19, for instance, in education, in higher education in particular, to look for the future. And in some way also to redefine the reason why we have cooperated altogether. I move now to the presentation of all the webinars that we will have during these 2 weeks. The first one today, in 10 minutes, we will start with an important dialogue with the European External Action Service. As you know, the European Commission launched a new communication on partnership with the Southern Mediterranean, and we asked the European External Action Service to try to better define the framework of this new communication, and in some way also to explore the future actions. And this is an important element of discussion, because all our programs, all our activities, all the instruments that we will use in the future are in some way under the umbrella of this new communication. And I think that is extremely important to try to understand clearly the background and to understand the reason why the European Commission is asking us, universities and international players, to cooperate for the Euro-Mediterranean partnership, because otherwise we just we will just move projects by projects without a clear perspective on the reason why we are working together. We in particular asked the European External Action Service to present this in the first day of the UNIMED week in some way to fix the agenda. On Thursday 16, we will have an important discussion with students' organization. As you know, UNIMED is trying to improve the cooperation with the students' organization. We have an important agreement with the Erasmus Student Network, and I hope that in the future we will be able to be more active with the students' organization, and to organize several activities in favor of our students' community. And I think that is extremely important, in particular in South Med, where student organizations are not so very well established and organized. Next week, we will organize on 20 September a webinar with Annalyn Foundation. We have a very strong cooperation framework with the Annalyn Foundation. During the UNIMED week, we will organize 3 different webinars. The first one is related about a particular topic of our Mediterranean region, climate change, food and water, and migration, and how these topics are in some way investigated in the report, in the intercultural trends reports realized by on 21st September, an important webinar discussing about university autonomy with the International Association of Universities. As you probably know, UNIMED now is a member of the International Association of Universities. And the idea during this webinar is to have a global discussion on university autonomy for a good governance. We will have representatives from Asia, from South America, from Mediterranean, from Southern Mediterranean. And this is an important discussion, at least to try to share ideas and perspective on university autonomy, looking at different regions of the world. The 22nd September, we will have in the morning, in the afternoon, a bilateral meeting with DG Education and Culture. We will discuss in the morning the international dimension of Erasmus program, which is in some way our core business. We still don't have any clear information about the future of international credit mobility, and in addition of capacity building program. And the next week, on Wednesday 22nd, we will have a presentation from Germán Bernard Rios, the representative of DG Education in charge of internationalization in South Med. And we will discover the future of the continuity in some way of this important program of our internationalization. In the afternoon, with the same DG, we will discuss about the mobility program for researchers, the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, and in particular, obviously focused on the opportunities for the Euro-Mediterranean researchers. The 22nd September will be an important day for all our internationalization departments and for our partners and colleagues. On 23rd September, we will have an activity organized in the framework of one of our sub-network on employability and entrepreneurship. We will discuss around important topics about eco-preneuriat and sustainability. The idea is to invite university to debate about the topic of employability, looking on particular priority, important priority for our region, which is in some way also linked to the new agenda launched by the European Commission for Southern Mediterranean partnership, which look also to the green dimension of our cooperation. On 21st September, the second webinar in collaboration again with the Annalyn Foundation, where they presented the report and the multicultural background on the Euro-Mediterranean cooperation. This is an important element because to go more in detail about the intercultural trends of our region will be an important asset also to define better and better our cooperation and our future. The week after, on Monday, 27th September, we will have the bilateral meeting with the DG Research to debate about the future of Horizon Europe program, and in particular, the international dimension. As you know, Horizon Europe program is the continuity of Horizon 2020. It's the most important program in research, probably around the world, and is not focused directly for the Euro-Mediterranean region, but there is a huge space for Euro-Mediterranean research institutions to cooperate and to answer to the priorities launched by the Horizon Europe program. This will be an important webinar with a very detailed presentation coming from DG Research, and I hope that there will be some fruitful reflection for future action in the framework of research. 28th of September, we will have the last webinar with Annalyn Foundation again. This will be a public discussion on intercultural trends and media platforms. The role of media in the Euro-Mediterranean cooperation, the Euro-Mediterranean region is extremely important. Not only talking on migration and mobility as is the focus of this webinar, but generally speaking. And this is a discussion jointly with media organization, civil society organization, and universities. This is also an important element to invite universities to open the door of cooperation with other players of our societies. Again, on the 28th September, we'll have another webinar with Union for the Mediterranean to present our report, the report that we defined, but thinking also to go more in detail about the recommendations. We will invite important stakeholders, rectors, and international organizations to debate with us about the recommendations that we define and how to go more in detail, how to achieve the recommendation that in some way we drafted, and how to answer to the needs of our higher education system in the region, at national level, but also at regional level. On 29th September, we will have a webinar with the European Training Foundation. As you know, the European Training Foundation is one of the main partners of UNIMED. We are discussing and we are trying to cooperate around this topic of micro-credential. Micro-credential is an important element of future discussion in the European side, but we are trying also to launch also this discussion, this cooperation jointly with South America. I hope that through this webinar we will have again some tips, suggestions for future initiative, future projects, looking at the future code launched in the framework of Erasmus Plus program in particular, but not only. And the last webinar will be with DG NEAR, which is the Director General for Neighborhood and Enlargement Negotiation. As you understand, we start now with the External Action Service, and we will finish with the Director General, DG NEAR, that is in charge of cooperation with South America. From the policy dimension to the practice dimension to the cooperation directly, in some ways the way to start and to finish, because we don't have to forget that all the activity that we do answer to a policy request of the European Commission jointly with Southern Mediterranean countries, that the cooperation in the region is remain independently by international situation or other priorities in the world, remain one of the main important pillars for all of us. In this sense, UNIMED play an important role, not only in doing things, in doing projects or in concrete activity, but also pushing all the actors, universities, first of all, but also European institutions, Southern Mediterranean government, European member states, to do more for our region, to do more for our students, to do more to answer to our crisis in the region, looking at the refugees crisis, but also the other political crisis that we are facing in the region, to answer in the best way possible to all this, and asking at universities to play a major role, not only answering through projects cooperation, but also to answer to our common needs in their own society, inviting students, local community and national government to pay more attention to higher education cooperation, to research, to mobility of students. In a moment where the mobility is affected by many problems. In the past, we were discussing about the visa issue. Now we have the EU Green Pass issue, for instance, and many other problems. But in any case, internationalization remains an important element of our society, of our life. This is the program of the UNIMED Week 21. Thank you very much for your attention, and we welcome with us Mr. Karl Hallegard from the European External Action Service. And I think that we can now start with our webinar. I think that we are perfect on time, which is not exactly Mediterranean, but is almost Mediterranean. Before to give the floor to Mr. Hallegard, I would like just to mention, to quote a declaration of Mr. Borrell, which is the High Representative of European Commission for coordinating the external action of the European Union, when it was launched the new agenda for Southern Mediterranean countries. Said that a strengthened Mediterranean partnership remains a strategic imperative for the European Union. Work together with our southern partners on a new agenda that will focus on people, especially women and youth, and help them meet their hopes for their future, enjoy their rights, and build a peaceful, secure, more democratic, greener, prosperous, and inclusive southern neighborhood. I think that is something where all of us, we agree on this, and I would like to now to ask Mr. Hallegard to explain in some way how the European Commission is moving in this direction. Thank you very much for joining us for this 6th edition of the UNIMED Week, and please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Scarisi. Thank you very much for inviting me to this launch of the UNIMED Week. We are very grateful to you. I'd like to greet all participants, excellencies, professors, colleagues who are listening in. I think we are really strong supporters of UNIMED, which we see as a real intellectual bridge for students and professors between the two shores of the Mediterranean, and really warm greetings to all colleagues and participants from our side in Brussels, be it from the Commission or the External Action Service and from the Brussels machinery. We are happy that you have focused your work on this, and we're happy to have this opportunity to explain a little bit what the thinking is behind. And thank you for quoting the High Representative. We are indeed ambitious, as you can see, and in what we try to achieve, and in particular for the young people, because our southern neighbors are very young countries. The young population, it's some cases even more than 40% of the population is young. The highest number we have found is for Palestine, but it's also high in countries like Tunisia and others. And we in the European Union, we are much older population, older people. We would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate you, UNIMED, on your 30th anniversary. You have done important work in promoting exchange and debate and bridging, as I said, the divide of the Mediterranean. We are very grateful to you. This is something that we really want to support and promote and encourage whenever we can. We have done our part with this new proposal for a new agenda for the Mediterranean, and I'll say a few words about that, but I'm also interested to hear from you, so I'll try not to be too long. First of all, it's strange perhaps, but it's the first communication that we do in Brussels, which is focusing on the southern neighborhood as such. It is quite a statement. The timing, although it was slightly disrupted perhaps because of the situation, the COVID situation, but we wanted to mark 25 years after the Barcelona Declaration on the southern Mediterranean. You all remember that. There was a big moment for the region, a big initiative, in particular by our Spanish colleagues, to bring everybody together. It was a big meeting, and there were very high expectations and high ambitions at the time. It's also 10 years now after the Arab Spring, and we know also that not so long ago, but still all the expectations and the hopes that were born at that time, and we know that not all of them were fulfilled. We started this work with a certain amount of a sobering realization that we have not been successful in the way that we wanted to do over the last 25 years, and certainly also over the last 10 years, and that there are still many difficulties, many problems for the region. First of all, of course, the conflicts that continue. Syria has been going on for more than 10 years. We have lived through the collapse of Libya. We have struggled with and continue to struggle with refugee and migration flows across the Mediterranean. This remains a difficult issue. The economic gap between the two sides of the Mediterranean has not been reduced in spite of our efforts. And we've seen now the impact of the pandemic being particularly harsh on our southern neighbors, in particular because it has hit in a very dramatic way the tourism sector, which is a big source of revenue for many of the countries in the region. And finally, we have seen both ourselves and through statistics the impact of climate change. In fact, the Mediterranean region is one of the worst hit by climate change, and it's warming 20% faster than the rest of the world. So this is also contributes a little bit to the sense of emergency, with particular problems of desertification and competition for water resources. So there's lots of challenges facing us. But what we have concluded when we worked on this is basically two guiding realities. The first one, that we cannot give up. We need really to re-energize this work. We need to invest more. We need to be more active. It's, as you said, a strategic imperative for us as European Union, fundamental strategic interest in helping and engaging with this region, because it's fundamentally the success of our southern neighbors is also our success. We see this as one undivided whole, and that these are things we really need to see clearly for us in terms of our interests as European Union. And secondly, many of the challenges we have mentioned can only really be addressed if we do this in close cooperation between the two sides of the Mediterranean. We cannot resolve conflict, fight terrorism effectively, or ensure a proper economic recovery, fight the COVID pandemic, or manage issues like climate change and migration separately. We really have to do this together. It has to be a joint effort. So this is really the philosophy behind the communication and what we are trying to do in practice. And we have tried to set out in the communication a roadmap in a number of different areas for how to do this. And we've tried to use really the whole toolbox of the European Union for this purpose. You have seen the communication. There are 5 different chapters. Just a few words on each of them before I say perhaps a bit more about education and research, which is of particular interest to you. Of course, we as European Union, we put human development, good governance, and the rule of law first. This is who we are. We sometimes annoy some of our colleagues in the neighboring countries, and these are sensitive issues. We understand that fully, but at the same time, essential for good economic development, for real stability and real prosperity in the countries concerned. So we will keep going on about this. It's nothing new, and of course here you can analyze the developments and see whether there has been progress or not, but it's not something that we are ready to give up on the contrary. Secondly, we have a big part, and perhaps one of the main innovations is, of course, to focus on economic recovery, economic development. This is really the main issue where the region has been lagging behind, and certainly lagging behind its potential. And of course, economic problems lead to many other problems, social problems, political problems, etc., and lack of opportunities, in particular for young people. So this is at the heart of many things that we do. We see a big chance for progress in the digital transition. We think this is a way for the countries to really leapfrog into the future. We have developed specifically as a novelty an economic and investment plan. I'm sure our colleagues from the Commission have spoken more about this, but the idea is to shift gradually from the traditional model of grant assistance, development assistance, to investment, because economic development is mainly and ultimately the private sector. We get more for our money if we use the amount that we have to promote investment, to guarantee big investment projects. And this is something that the countries themselves are also very interested in. We started with this in the previous period. It was called the External Investment Plan. And this has been quite a success in different areas, even though some countries have been much better at this than other countries. I think some countries have maybe to catch up a little bit. Some individual countries have decided not to be involved in this at all.